everybody, welcome to my stamp studio. My name is Sherry. This week I am doing a Christmas in July series. So if you're not on my email list, you'll want to be there because every day I'll send a little reminder. I have a couple of thank you specials, and I also have a giveaway this week. So you'll want to make sure that you're on my email. You can do it by going to my website and it pops up. And if you're watching on YouTube, the link is underneath the video. So a couple of other things just before we start the card. Celebration is about halfway over. It goes to the end of August. Things are while supplies last. So there's a couple of things in here that I will use as part of my Christmas in July. I think not all of the cards are not even half of them are designed yet. They're in my head. So hopefully I'll get to a couple of those, but I did want to remind you that that is ongoing. Every $50 or $100 you spend, then you get to pick a free item, and you can also get some other free things. And I posted a video about the benefits of joining Stampin' Up! And what you get free right now for doing that. So that will also be on my website and in my emails. Then let's do it this way. This is one of the free sets. You get it with a $300 order, or if you're a hostess of a party where the orders come in and they're $300, or you can get one free from me as part of my giveaway this week. So anybody who orders from July 25th to the end of July, your name will be entered into a hat. And then I have another one I'll give away in August just for my email subscribers in the US. I'm only going to do US. So you'll want to make sure you're on, because I'm just going to pick a random name from my email and somebody will win that set. And then most of the stamps and things that I will be using are out of this mini catalog. I will be using the cover set. I've taken some requests. I got more requests than there are days of the thing, and a couple of things I didn't have yet, so those won't be on it. But today I'm going to use the Boughs of Holly. It's really, really pretty. The paper is really, really pretty. The dies, as you're going to see in a minute, because I am going to use the dies, are exceptionally pretty. The paper, lovely. It has these textural elements that you can color. They're kind of like balsa wood. Not using those on today's card because there was already enough on it without doing that. But this is this week that I'm using. And then the series that I did last week was on the art of stamping, and I told you that there would be one more. There were a couple of rules I gave myself for the 3 cards in the series, and then I am continuing the series with this, but I kind of let myself break a couple of the rules. So they all used the Stamparatus, and we will be doing that today. These had no die cutting, so I didn't need a die cut machine. I am going to use a die cut machine on today's card. But all 3 of these videos, the techniques are kind of mix and match, and you'll see that I'm going to do that again today with this one as a mix and match. But I wanted you to know that these were out here because it gives you a little bit more in depth on one of the techniques we're using today, because we are going to use the Stamparatus. So here is the stamp set. You can see it does solid ones, and then it does an overlay, or you can just do groups of them. These 2 both have dies, and these have dies. And then there's also holly builders, so you can just build a straight holly if you want to do that. I'm going to use part of a holly builder. I'm going to build half a holly. And then I'm going to use Hope and Peace for my words. Most of nearly all of Stampin' Up's Christmas sets, not all, but nearly all, have greetings in them. I tend to like one of their all greeting sets. I think the fonts sometimes are a little fancier, and I like those. So we are going to start with the Stamparatus. Now, you know ours comes with 2 plates. So since this one has 2 plates, I have gone ahead and just mounted my things on here, and I'll show you how I did that in a minute. So the first one, it doesn't matter so much. We're going to use shimmery white paper, because if you're making a Christmas card, you want some shimmer, right? So here is how our thing comes. But if you're going to use photopolymer sets, they don't quite reach. I don't know if you can see it. It needs to be raised up, because photopolymer stamps don't have that little layer of foam behind them. So this is the matte, and this one you can buy this, and it has measurements on it and can be wiped off. This one comes with the so I'll use this one. This is really inexpensive, and I like to have it on my desk just to use for other things as well. So I'm going to take my piece of shimmer white, and then I'm just going to use 1 magnet. The other thing, I've had a few people after I started my series ask how I get my photopolymer stamps to not stick. You can put washi tape on this one, So I'll go ahead and do this one. This one, the washi tape doesn't hold to as well because it's just a piece of foam down here. The first time you use photopolymer, they're way more sticky than the remaining times. After that, they get a little less sticky. So I'm going to take, these are the solid images. So I'm going to go back to our blending brushes. We did a couple of different techniques last week. I'm going to use the blending brush, and I pulled out my yellow, my red, and my green. And then I just use those all the time. And I really need to ink these now because I have sucked the life out of these. So I'm going to put a little bit of poppy on here. And I didn't get quite to the top. And then I'm going to use some crushed curry on both the leaves and the top of my berries, just to give it a little bit of, well, a little bit of gold accent, and then also kind of brighten it up a little bit. And the green will mostly cover this up. Okay, and it's still pulling up a little bit, so I'm just going to take some washi tape. You can use Scotch tape because I don't want it to move. I don't want my things to look like they have a shadow around them. So just add a strip of this. You cannot do that on the foamy one. The washi tape just doesn't stick well. And then we'll do one more down here. And then that should take care of it. You can also do 2 magnets. It tends to be then that you need more paper, and on shimmery white, I don't want to have to lose any more shimmer white paper than I need to. I'm going to give one more little splotch of yellow right in the middle. And that's it for the crushed curry. And now we'll see how this holds. That's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to go to Parakeet. And I'm going to ink up most of it. You can kind of see where the crushed curry is still on here. So I won't go right over the top of that. And then I'll just go back and do my berries in a second so I don't have to keep moving everything around. And you can see how that curry mixes with the green and just gives it the pretty little pop of highlight. And because we're layering, I can't talk, the colors on this card, it will get darker and darker, and all of the berry will take on a little bit of a life of its own. And we're going to do one more with the other stamp. Let me do it right here where I keep trying to avoid that part because that's where the yellow is, but I'm not getting any. There we go. That looks good for my green. I'm satisfied with that because we are layering, so there's going to be more colors that come on top. Then let's go back to our poppy. And I do want to keep that yellow bit at the top. You can see where it kind of shone through, so I didn't put any there. And you can see the more and more ink these get on it, the less that it lifts up. And I like to have it, so some of these are going to be darker now, and some of it's going to keep that lighter touch. Okay, you could almost stop with this if you want to go with a more funky look, or if you want to use the overlay that pops out with the dies. There's so many options with this card. So now I'm going to remove this. I just take this when I use the photopolymer and just take it to my sink and rinse it off. It's the fastest way to clean it. Then it gets your plate clean and it gets your stamps clean. So now I'm going to take the overlays, and to make sure that they are on here, you're just going to take them on and you're just going to lightly lay them down. And then make sure they match up as much as you can. That looks pretty good. You match up the points on this, and it would be a little bit better if I put my head right over the top, but then you wouldn't see what was going on. And then there's also an overlay for the berries. They're a little bit easier to match up. So once you have everything where it looks good, but it also doesn't show on this card, so if it's a little bit crooked, it doesn't matter. So pick those up. You can see they're a little bit stickier with no ink. And then I'm going to do just a dash of soft suede, and I didn't want to get another brown one, so I'm just going to use the corner of my yellow. And we'll get the stem on here. Again, you won't see, I have the tip of one showing from my card, but not much of the other. Then I'm going to do garden green. And the trick is, I mean, it's a different stamp, so it will not be in the exact same spots, but I want it around the edges. So the first time I'm just going to put a little bit on to kind of see where this is hitting. Go back. You can, and you don't have to have the Stamparatus if you're just stamping these in 2 straight colors. You don't have to have, like, you could do all parakeet. And then again, I'm going to get a little bit on the edges where I keep trying to avoid covering up my that yellow spot. That looks pretty good. I like that. I like the kind of vintage tone it has. Now we are going to go to Merlot over the top. And this is going to vintage that poppy right down too. So the underneath layer has that fun, bright pop of color. We'll tone it down just a little bit. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so we're done with our color. Super fun, but then, you know, because of the art of stamping, I was doing, now you can stop at any of these techniques, but because we were doing that series, I was doing everything a little bit more, and on the other ones I did some embossing, so I'm going to do that with this. You want to get most of your ink off, but I'm going to tell you a secret. For this particular card, I went over, and everybody should have one of these. Once you get a Versamark pad that is just past the time of being good, just let it go bad. So this one already has a lot of color on it. So I inked the whole thing, but this time I'm not going to press very hard. Just kind of hit it. I don't want everything to touch, because otherwise we just cover up all that green, right, with this. So there we are. Have this in here. And we'll see where we got. It's kind of like every card's going to be a little bit different, because obviously you can't get the same color. I mean, the same stamping. Yeah, we just got parts. So you can see it just kind of hit in parts. And if you feel like you knocked too much off. There we go. You don't want to smack these, because obviously I didn't press very hard. I didn't press very hard when I did my Versamark, so it's not inked everywhere and there's not a ton of ink. So this time I'm going to heat from the bottom. Just hold it in the spot till you see it start to melt. And once it starts to melt, that means your gun's hot and it's not going to blow it off. Okay, so those are finished. Now you want to let this cool off for just a second before you put it through your cut and emboss machine. Otherwise, while it's warm, that gold or whatever color embossing would just kind of stick to it. So we'll do our embossing folder first. This one, it is one where you want to make sure that the line matches up. And then I took my brown pad and I barely touched it and I didn't like it. So then I washed it up, but I didn't wash it all. So there's a very minute amount of soft suede in here. So you can see it got you'll see it better on in the photos. And then because it had some, I just added a tiny bit more because I really liked the way it kind of made that vintage. So I have another piece of shimmer white here. And this honestly is the piece of this stamp set that caught my eye is this frame. It's beautiful. The funny thing is I'm going to cover a lot of it up. So we're going to cut the frame. And then I have, this is a piece of the vanilla. It has a tinge of green to it, especially when it's next to some green ink. And it is from the pack that has the green, evening evergreen, gold, and then my washing machine's going off. And then this. So there's it's 12 by 12. Great Christmas colors, and then all year colors. But this is kind of a new color. I know it says it's vanilla. I expected it to be a little, you can see it next to the shimmer white. It has more, but anytime you put that sparkle green with something, it just has that, it picks up the green that's in that sparkle. So we have these. And I'm going to cut this out. And then the one last piece that I'm going to use is this that will cut out. You'll see in a second how it cuts out. It's designed that you can do a builder with it. So you could cut this one in maybe the green sparkle paper and this one in the gold sparkle paper. There's maybe another card idea for me, but I don't want to reuse multiple sets in 1 week. But this will overlay. I'm just going to use it on a piece of shimmer white. So now I'm going to go back to my Stamparatus and I'm going to use the Hope and Peace stamp set, which is here. Now it is red rubber and we were just using the photopolymer. So I need to make sure that when I stamp my sentiment that I take this out because I no longer need this. Otherwise, what happens if you use this, the stamp hits too soon and this will it'll smudge. So definitely make sure you take that out because that's then replacing the foam that's behind the stamp. See? So I have this beautiful, my favorite thing. Look how it pops out. So it has this little thing here that comes out. I almost wish this went the whole way around because that is adorable, but it's broken. You could always put something here, just like I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll try that. And then these pop out, but I'm not gonna use them. I'm gonna use them now to hold my piece in here, but then I'm gonna chop those off because I wanted the big ones and I couldn't get them all to fit on one card. So it's just easier to take them off. So I'm going to use the lines on my Stamparatus and put this straight, just like that. And then I'm going to get my sentiment. And this one you can tell that this right here is straight. It's another reason I don't put for one, if you put your stickers on, it's harder to get them out of your Stamparatus. And for two, if you put your sticker on crooked, then you're looking at what the sticker is, which doesn't necessarily match unless you're a master sticker putter on that. So now we'll grab this. I use my garden green and do about halfway. And then I'm going to use my parakeet, but because I'm using the same thing, I'm going to ink my parakeet down on this end of my blending brush. And then I'm going to use my crushed curry and just give it a little pop there. It's probably going to take more than one inking, and you don't want to press super hard because these are delicate words. If you press too hard, you're going to do the same thing that you do when you use a stamp. There we go. I'll do one more coat and kind of darken that up. I'm going to leave that yellow. The good thing is, you know, if you were doing this and you were hand stamping and not using your Stamparatus, all this ink that's on the edges might end up on your card. But because I've got the control of the Stamparatus, I'm not pushing super hard. That's why it's taking more than a couple of coats. But it doesn't pick up any of that ink that's down there. So this says the weary world rejoices. And with that music background, it gives a fun joy to the world. And the world could need a little joy, and the weary world needs the meaning of Christmas. There we go. Isn't that pretty? So super simple. Now, if you were doing multiples of these cards, you would cut these all out. And then I would take blend and just kind of mark where I wanted to once this was on. And then I would just pull this off and do the next, and then do the next, and do the next. So if you're doing 10 of these sentiments, keep doing this. You wouldn't do it in the order that I did it. It was just because I didn't want to cut this out and then go back and stamp. So sometimes the way I do order in the order of a video is obviously not the way that you would want to do it if you were making multiples. So I'm going to go with soft suede because it's my color of the moment. I have used soft suede more in the past couple of months than I maybe have forever in my time with Stampin' Up. So this one's just going to be mounted straight on here. So I'm going to take, this is what's left of, it's got some brown on it. It's got the little bit of curry. I don't mind that my colors match. You can always have dedicated blending brushes. I don't have the space on my desk to do that. So I'm just going to kind of add that color, and then that kind of does the vintage feel I'm going for. Now the Stamp and Seal always works better on flat. If you do it on here, sometimes it has a tendency to pull it up. So just do it that direction. And I'm just going to trim these out. Now you could probably leave them. In fact, a little bit of them showing might not be a bad thing. It just helps me know where I want to put it. Look how pretty that is. And this is the reason I was going to pop it up, but I don't know this on dimensionals. I'm afraid this would get bent. So we'll just lay this flat and then we'll pop some of the other things up. Now for my card design to fit, it needs to be over this direction a little bit. So we'll add that. And then we'll go for the biggest. Isn't that pretty? And there's no soft suede except the little bit on the stem on my card, but because there was a little bit left on my brush, it kind of ties the whole thing in. Want this to go off just a fraction there. And then you do this one. You want to make sure that these things go in between your words. So we'll add that there. And then for some ribbon, I didn't want to tie ribbon on here, but this is the gold. It's golden vanilla something ribbon. They have very basic names these days, and there's too many that are the same, but the supply list, like I said, is below. For this one, I'm going to take a little bit of Seal Plus. Just add that right there. See, this is the only stem that you can see. That's why I wasn't overtly worried. And whichever stem stamped better, that can be the one that you let show through the top. So just add that. I'm going to just add a little bit of seal to the back of this. So we're just making a fun little artsy bouquet. And then I have my two pine boughs. And for these, I'm going to use Seal Plus. So I'll just get it right here. And don't worry, this mishmash at the top is going to get covered up in just a second because we still have our berries. So we have that. And then I'm going to take my berries and some dimensionals. And these are going to help hold all this stuff in here. So put one here. One here. So it's got, now it has my ribbon, it has this piece here. All of that is contained in the little gather of stems up at the top. I'm just going to pop these on here. And then I really wanted some red rhinestones, and apparently I'm totally out. So there's no red rhinestones on my card. So instead I went with the champagne rhinestones, and these have been around for a while, so more than likely you have some. They've been my free gift with purchase before. My other one I added 3. I might add 5 to this one just because they're beautiful. So let's do 3 of the larger size. And then we'll do 2 of the smaller size. Because you just want to do an odd number. Here we go. Now every card's going to look a little bit different because when you're layering that color, there's no way around it. So you can see on this one, my berries are a bit brighter. And I don't know, the berries aren't any brighter because I use the same color. This one just has a lot more gold on it. but they're equally as pretty. So that is the first card for this week for Christmas in July. So make sure you're on my email list. Then you can be in the drawing for that stamp set when it starts in August. If you purchase anything, make sure to use my host code because I do free gifts with purchase. And I will see you back here tomorrow with another card. Bye.